Well, hi everybody. I wanted to thank you all so very much to coming and celebrating Niki's life. She was the most amazing woman, and I thank God that I was able to spend 35 years with her. She was the love of my life and also my best friend. Even when we were bickering, she was my best friend. I loved her so much. Anyway, I wanted to thank you all for coming, especially those that have driven or flown from around the country. This is so special. It's a special day. And I know Nick would absolutely love to be here and to hug and to kiss every one of you. I love you guys, and thank you so much. Talk to you later.
Hi, my name is Denise, and I was Nikki's sister. At least that's what we called ourselves. Even when we called each other on the phone up to the last days, we'd say, "Hi, my sister." We were best friends for 58 years. Almost 59, just shy. We met when we were about 9 or 10 years old. And our meeting was even a funny story. I had just moved up the street about 5 houses away, and rumor had it that there was a little girl my age down the street. So I took my dog, and we would just walk back and forth in front of her house until she finally came out. And she came out with a football under her arm, and she just said, "I don't know what you're doing, but do you want to play football?" And I said, "Absolutely." And that was it. We were inseparable for really all those years. And then we were about 13 years old, a lovely young girl named Chris entered the picture.
Hi everyone. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Chris Cambruzzi, and I've been friends with Niki for over 57 years. So it was hard to know where to begin when you're talking about a friendship that lasts a lifetime. So I thought maybe I'd try starting at the beginning and share a little bit of how we met and maybe one story. Bear with me. I'm going to read part of it, and part of it I'll talk through. In the spring of 1970, a shy 12-year-old girl moved to her new home in La Habra, California. Yes, that was me. And I was once that young. In my new neighborhood, I was faced with the daunting reality of starting 7th grade in a new school and the frightening challenge of making new friends. I'd seen a couple of girls around my neighborhood who seemed like they might be interested in hanging out and maybe becoming friends. So one day at school, I got up enough nerve to approach the girls. That was Niki and Denise. The first thing that came out of my mouth was, "Hi, can we be friends?" They looked at each other with puzzled expressions, as if silently asking each other, "Should we?" And then, out of nowhere, they both said simultaneously, "What do you have in your purse?" Desperate as I was for friends, I complied and opened my purse to reveal the contents. I'm sure there wasn't much in there, probably some gum and a house key, but whatever it was, it worked. Fast forward 57 years later, and we've been the best of friends in the happiest of times and the saddest of times. Truly sisters from other mothers.
Hi, I'm Kathy. I'm Niki's sister-in-law. I met her at Al and Nikki's wedding, and I knew we were going to be best friends from the moment I saw her, and we were, along with every one of you guys. Anyway, when you're with Niki, it's like an episode of I Love Lucy. And today's episode, Niki and Kathy get ready for a wedding. So we're over at her place, we're doing our hair and our nails, and we're talking about, what we're going to do. And we decide in our infinite wisdom that we need to get rid of the 5 o'clock shadow. So we put Nair on our faces. And it turns out the box is right. It is not recommended for facial use. The next morning we get up and we both have red beards. And Niki has a certain special surprise. She's got like blisters and they're draining clear fluid on one side of her face. We were absolutely lovely. Caked on the makeup, vowed secrecy to each other, as far, until now. So now you know the real story. We had so much fun together, and I will miss her forever. Love you, Niki. Bye.
So, what can I say about my Niki? She was my best friend, confidant, and we had so many laughs together. One of my favorite things to do with her, and her favorite thing, was to go to the Ark. And we would spend hours in there. I remember we spent 6 hours in there one time, and she tried on everything, I swear. She was just amazing, but one of the things that amazed me most about her is her generous heart. She had a heart that was as big as the sky. We'd be in there and she'd see 2 young ladies going through stuff, and they'd have their hands full, and then they started adding up how much money they had, and she'd see that, and she'd say, "Come with me, I'll go up with you, and I'm going to give you my senior discount." And she'd go up to the counter with them and make sure she got the senior discount. We'd go have lunch, and there was a gentleman in there one time, looked like he was a little bit down on his luck, spending the last of his money on this lunch, and she paid for his lunch. She was just the most generous person I've ever met. It's total strangers. She touched so many people. She made me aspire to be a better person. What better friend could you have than that? And I'm carrying her in my heart forever. She's always going to be with me. Her spirit is always going to be with me.
Let's see. Who was Yaya to me? Well, she was always there, showing up. And over the years, she became mom. Cheerleader, best friend, confidant, accountability partner. She was always there with open arms and food. How may I nourish you? Yeah.
But, okay, maybe one story I thought was kind of cute. We were 16, and Niki's birthday being in November, she was the last of us to get a driver's license. So we'd been driving several months by the time Niki had gotten her driver's license. But the day she got her license, her mom passed down her 1964 beige Dodge Dart. And she was determined to take us on an adventure the night that she got her driver's license. Well, she wanted to go to the Queen Mary. And if you're familiar with Southern California, the Queen Mary is about 20 or 25 miles from La Habra, and part of the way is on the freeway. Well, we were going on our adventure at night in the 1964 Dodge Dart with Niki driving in the dark. So we all piled into the car, but Denise and I, we were apprehensive. So we piled in the back seat the two of us, with Niki driving like she was our chauffeur. Most of the way, Denise and I had one hand over our eyes, and the other hand we were gripping each other's hand in fear. But we made it. We made it to the Queen Mary. We had a good evening, and we made it back home safely. And we're here to talk about it today. It was quite an adventure.
Hello, my name's Mason, and I'm Niki's nephew. And while we may not exactly share any blood, her and Al have always been some of my closest family and been there for me my entire life. And so she was definitely the fun aunt, or Aunt Ninny, as we called her. But man, there's a lot of really good memories. I think, as probably most of you, I can attest, I'm 36 years old, and she's saying happy birthday to me at least 36 times. The real number's probably closer to 1,000. But so many good memories, and she's always just been there. I mean, she was always just a part of our holidays, whether it was Christmas or birthdays or whatever, always bringing all of that love and comfort and treats and sweets and just spoiling the hell out of us. There was never a question if we were absolutely loved to the moon and back. But one good story I remember, as I was coming of age, Niki sat me down and we had a conversation about girls, and her advice was that they were going to come calling, and what I was supposed to do is put up my hand and say, stop. And Ninny said no, and leave it at that. And so I took that to heart, probably too well. 36 now and just finally got a girlfriend. But that was always a fun memory for me. But love her, miss her. She's still here with us. And yeah, always in our thoughts and prayers.
Hi, I'm Katie. I'm Niki's niece, her sweet niece, as she called me. And I am Ken and Kathy's daughter. When Niki and Al were moving to Colorado, first of all, Niki and Al got married on my birthday. So that was my very first introduction to her. I was 10 years old, and I got a troll doll set that was a bride and groom, and I had the best time of my life at their wedding. And then when they moved to Fort Collins, before they moved to Fort Collins, they came to our house and stayed, and they were all sitting around the dinner table talking after dinner one night, and I remember it being the first time I wanted to stay and talk and be part of the grown-up conversation and not run off and play. And I just remember feeling so included and so grown up, and it's really just such a core memory because Niki is so good at making everyone feel so included, and the people that she loves are family, whether you're her blood niece or you're just her sweet niece, like you are 100% family and a part of her life. And I just felt that so deeply at 11 or 12 years old, sitting around that table. And man, I wish I could be there right now.
Hi, I'm Grant. I am Niki's godson, and yeah, I spent my whole life growing up with Aunt Niki. She's always one of the first people I called with news or events. Always someone I could talk to. Always my optimistic and happy influence. If something was going on in life or I needed advice, I knew I could call her and get a good upbeat analysis of what I should do. And happy memory I have with Aunt Niki. I mean, she's literally been at every big event of my life. So if I think of any of the big events of my life, that's a happy memory I have with Aunt Niki. But one that sticks out is just sitting in her craft room in Denver or Fort Collins and having margaritas, just the two of us, and her little fire on and pretending to craft, but really just talking and I don't know, just spending time with each other. That was always the best thing to do. So she will be missed, and we love her, and yeah, she'll stay with us in our thoughts and prayers, and so grateful to have an awesome Aunt Niki.
My favorite memory of Aunt Niki isn't a specific memory, but just her overall vibe and warm hello. She would always say, "Hey, honey," and she was so sweet and loving, and the minute I met her, welcomed me into the family and made me feel just as special as a Grant and an immediate part of the family. She was so kind to the kids and just had this warm presence about her. And whether it was putting her toes in the sand or drinking a margarita or baking cookies together and being silly at Cookie Bake Off, she always brought so much joy to everything, and it was just so fun to be around and made you feel like you had known her your whole life. And she accepted me from the minute I met her, and I love you, Nikki.
I was trying to figure out how to sum up this video, and I ran across this poem by an unknown author, and I thought it was beautiful and perfectly describes a lifelong friendship with Niki. So, excuse me, I'm going to read it to you. Our lives go on without you, but nothing is the same. We have to hide our heartache when someone speaks your name. Sad are the hearts that love you. Silent are the tears that fall. Living without you is the hardest part of all. You did so many things for us. Your heart was kind and true. And when we needed someone, we could always count on you. The special years will not return, but the love in our hearts, you will walk with us forever. Thank you for listening.
That she was the same at 68 as she was at 10. She cared mostly about fun and love and people, and the way she made you feel like you were the most important person in her life, you were. And she was always that way. And she was always mushy and love and hugs, and that was her. It always was. We even imagined our dream men that we were going to marry. And she knew as soon as she met Al, it was him. And I looked and said, that's exactly the guy you've been describing your whole life. And we knew instantly. Oh, I'll tell you one really quick funny story on my birthday this year. Of course, she wasn't here, and she always loved to call and sing. And oh gosh, I have so many stories. I can't even give them to you all. Anyway, she couldn't call, but I was driving around and I had driven past this one store, and I could like hear her in my head say, stop at that store, stop at that store. And I never stop at this one gift store, never. And it was so loud that I was like, okay. So I pulled over and I went into this store, and the shopkeep says, what can I help you with? And I was like, I don't know yet, but I know it's in here. And I walked directly to it, and there was this card of two little girls sitting on it. And it was basically saying that we've known each other our whole lives, and you're my sister of my heart, and we have all our secrets together. And it was like the most perfect message. So I know she's with me. So I'm going to hold that, and I bet you all have stories too, because she would think it was fun to jerk us around. And I think we promised to always send messages. Love you all. Love you, Niki. Miss you forever.
Hello, everyone. I've been asked to say a few words about someone that was very important throughout my life, my sister Niki. I can't even begin to list the number of lives that she's touched, but she certainly has touched ours, and we've been blessed, and the vacuum and the hole that's been left by her absence has been tough on all of us. I think that she's very happy and very proud of the huge family that she's built back here on Earth. And I just wanted to say a few things about what she's meant to me over the years, and the kids have really helped with this presentation here today, and one of the things they got me thinking about was to sum up Niki in a couple of words. And if I were to try and narrow it down to 2 words, which really is almost impossible to do, I'd say that those 2 words were open heart. that describes Nikki to a T, and I'm sure that everyone would agree with that. Nikki had an innate trust and compassion and optimism for everyone that she came across on this earth. Did it bite her in the behind a few times along the way? Yes. She's been taken advantage of. She's been burned. But you know what? She always comes back bigger and stronger and more optimistic and even more trusting and giving. And I'll never forget that about her. I'll tell you that it did kind of serve me well as an older brother, I gotta say, to have a little sister that trusted every single thing that I told her throughout our childhood was pretty awesome, I gotta say. And boy, I told some whoppers, and she would just give me the pie eye every time, and believe me like a younger sister should believe an older brother, even when he's pulling her leg. So Nick, this today is for you, and I'm honored that your wishes were to have this in my backyard where we've had so many great times and so many great memories, and today we're going to add another one. And we love you. And whether it's on the beaches of Vietnam or the beaches on the East Coast or San Clemente where you loved so much, we love you. And we miss you. And we know you're looking down and smiling upon us. God bless you. Speaking of Nikki and how we got together, back in the early 90s, I'd moved to Reno. I got a job working with my best friend, Steve Amber. His nickname was Bubba Cheese. And I sold Yamahas for a year. And then I met Nikki, I think it was in 1991. And she was totally different than any other person I've ever met in my life. She was so bubbly, so vivacious, and just, she was huggy. She loved to hug. She just hugged the daylights out of it. Worst kisser out of any woman I've ever kissed. She kissed like a bird. She would be natural. She was so, but that was Nikki. She was amazing. Anyway, she was just so loving and so huggy that I couldn't believe her at first. I thought this woman can't be right. You know? So anyway, I'll back up a bit and tell you how we were introduced. I was going to see the dentist, Dr. Hellwinkle, for my teeth, and she was going to see the dentist for Dr. Hellwinkle. Well, we met through Steve, Bubba Cheese's wife, Kay. She at the time was his girlfriend. Kay was the dental assistant. And so everybody always said, "Oh, how'd you guys meet?" "Oh, at the dentist's office." Anyway, she brought us all together. It was the day after Valentine's Day. It was the first day that I met Nick. And our first date, I asked her if she liked Mexican, which was no-brainer. She absolutely loved Mexican. So I took her out for dinner, and we had a great time. Mm-hmm. Second time around, we didn't have such a great time. When it come to the end, we were looking for glasses. I realized that Nikki had a tendency to lose everything. So the next time that we went out, she had lost her glasses somewhere in one of the casinos. So we're driving around the casinos trying to find her glasses, and I was getting really tired. And so when we got back to my apartment, I said goodnight to her, and I didn't walk her to her car, which I should have done. At least I could have been a gentleman. But so she pretty much said, "That's it," you know. And she talked to Kay, and Kay convinced her, "You're not going to meet another guy quite like Al." And so did Denise. Denise told her, "You go out with that man. You're going to marry that man." And Denise kept saying. And about, I don't know, 3 or 4 months later, I asked Niki to marry me. I asked her to marry me the same time that Steve asked Kay to marry him. So, I mean, the same day. We were looking, we both got a yes. And then, oh, yeah, it was so cool. So we met the day after Valentine's Day. We married a year later, the day after Valentine's Day, at Katie Jane's birthday. And we always did everything kind of goofy. Niki was born in 1957, and she, I think it was the day after Thanksgiving that Niki was born. And so everything that we do, it was like everything that we did was always kind of a day late and a dollar short. So that's kind of what I'm going to call this celebration, a day late and a dollar short. This is my bride and I. But we kept it together for all those years. We loved each other. And I will always love her. Always. She was the light of my life. There's no other person in the world that meant as much to me as Niki. So, yeah.